Mr.
Muted. Hey, there I am, down here in the corner. Okay. We didn't cover like what order we were going to introduce ourselves in, so as usual, we're I'm Rotten Deadite. This is the Selectives Lorecast, Casual Elder Scrolls podcast. And you guys just do your thing. Well, I'm excited. We're talking about Elder Scrolls 6 today.
I'm Corey High.
Go, do it. You started.
Oh, I'm Corey High.
Hi, Corey.
Hi, I am James, also known as Aramithius.
And I am Andrew, also known as the White Guar.
And it's all four of us back again together to talk about the big E3 revelation for Elder Scrolls fans, which is against all odds. No one could have possibly have seen this coming. It was literally unknown to nobody ever expected that they would make another Elder Scrolls game. And yet here we are. We have a logo.
Well, probably part
no
of
one
a
was
logo.
expecting them to announce it yet, because I was busily counting the number of games they were releasing, because they said the two major properties before they were going to Elder Scrolls 6. So I was thinking, well, there's Starfield, there's this, when are we getting that?
Yeah.
And I lost count. I couldn't count to 3 at that point, so I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, Johnny points out correctly. It's probably not even the final logo. Probably it's going to look different.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it's absolutely going to look different. And I mean, just because we got a little, teaser snippet of some land and, the words Elder Scrolls 6. I mean, we still don't know how far away it is. I mean, I'm still thinking it's going to be after 2020 when we actually get it.
Speaking of how far away it is, before we talk about anything else, when do you think it's going to be released? I want a year.
Oh, a year?
2021, I think.
My money's on about about Q2 or Q3 2020 or thereabouts, because whenever they've announced previous games, we've seen it about 2 years-ish later.
Yeah.
Well, when Skyrim was announced, it released in December of that year, right? Because they announced it January, and it was December that year. But I think so the thing about this is it's the longest they've ever waited to release another Elder Scrolls game in the history of their company.
Well, except for the first one.
Okay, yeah, except for the first one, obviously.
Fair point. Okay.
I couldn't help myself.
Sims says it's 11/11/2022, and that's such a lovely round number. I can't argue with that. I would push to 2024,
but they've already tried
but I'm probably more pessimistic than everybody else is.
Wound up cutting a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know whether they tie themselves down that way.
I figure 10 years, like a 10-year difference between 5 and 6. It's pretty. That's why I said 21. Because Skyrim was 11/11/11 famously.
And as Sim points out, 11/11/2022 is 11 years after Skyrim.
Yeah.
Isn't that a lovely number? That's a lovely number.
See, but 11 is an elegant number. And
I was so convinced that we were a Shezarine in Elder Scrolls 5. I was absolutely convinced. 11/11/11, 3 times the master, the number of the master. It was like, how could it not be? And then,
and then,
yeah. So like I said, I don't think it's going to be until 2021, and I do not believe it's going to be out until the next gen consoles.
Oh, that I think is very
absolutely.
likely. Yeah.
That's not even.
Yeah, they've explicitly said. Haven't they confirmed that? I'm sure I've heard the phrase "next gen" come out of someone.
Yeah,
honestly,
I'm pretty sure Todd Howard said in the E3 press conference that it was a next gen game coming out after Starfield, which is also next gen games that Johnny Anonymous said in chat. But I do remember that being a thing.
Do we have a firmer release date for the next generation of consoles?
No,
I don't know.
I mean,
no.
The way
PC Master Race. So I don't know.
Indeed. So
well, and they've And you've even got this, some vague speculation about whether Microsoft's going to bother. They were desperately trying to go modular and ditch console generations altogether a while back, but quite how firm they are on that.
Well, that's another thing I see kind of coming too, because what the Switch has done. So the Switch, the Nintendo Switch has gone, okay, we're not gonna be so basically. All the consoles before now have been basically super high, well, not super high, but just like little personal computers that were specialized for video games. But I don't know if I don't know.
And Nintendo's always been the funky company that doesn't really go along with the usual generation trends. They've always kind of lagged and mucked around. Like I've heard people complaining that the Wii and how popular that was held back general computing processing in consoles for ages.
Yeah,
because
that's the only console that did that though. They did it a little bit in the GameCube, but even the GameCube was still pretty high up there with the Xbox and the the Xbox and the PS2. It wasn't with the Dreamcast. Yeah. Well, maybe it was with the Dreamcast. I don't remember, but the Dreamcast was way ahead of its time.
And then it flopped.
And therefore it flopped, exactly. So I was reading somewhere, so the Switch has already sold more than the Wii U ever has.
Oh, the Switch is great. I love the Switch.
I plan on buying it just because I want to let you guys know that apparently it's been 20 years since the original Pokemon games released in the United States. So they're re-releasing Kanto.
Nekin has just posted up that Todd did just say it was next gen technology. It wasn't the next gen console necessarily.
Okay. Well,
so that depends on quite what they mean by next gen technology. Are we talking a particular kind of AI? Are we is there going to be a particular kind of graphic rendering? I know there was talk about it being a new engine. So unless he was jazzing, was he jazzing that?
Oh, thank fucking God! It's a new engine.
I don't know. Expect the best, prepare for the worst, I think. And
as always,
we can interpret
and be prepared
that
to retcon a whole load of lore.
I don't. So with what they've done with ESO, I don't know if there's going to be a retcon so much as there's just going to be an expansion upon it. Because
I don't think. Do you mean like timeline wise, like it's going to be the ascension of Tiber Septim or something, or during Tolkien's reign? Is that
no? Timeline wise, it's post Skyrim. I would say it's almost going to be immediately after Skyrim. Speaking of which, where do you guys think it's going to be?
It's in Hammerfell.
Yeah, it's Hammerfell.
It's Hammerfell.
Somewhere on the Iliac Bay, but yeah, I'm thinking Hammerfell.
It's Hammerfell.
Yeah,
I thought
we're on.
When I first saw that teaser, I thought there was too much green for it to be Hammerfell. But
I just heard the music. I was just like, oh, it sounds like a sailor thing. It's Hammerfell.
Probably.
That dude got a point.
And plus, I saw the terrain, and there's a desert right next to the Iliac Bay on the eastern side. There's jungle, and then there's a desert.
Yeah, I mean there've been plenty of videos that are like analyzing every frame of the teaser. It's like, oh well, the sun is coming from this angle. This is a 43-degree angle.
That's
so we
exactly
must be
what I did
in
the first time I saw it. Yeah.
That's like shut up.
Yeah.
No,
we had a definite.
No,
we had a definite
sun
rises in the east for.
It could have been later in the day.
I've never really
know
even
what
tried
time
to
it is in the video. So how do we know?
Yeah. True, but yeah, and Johnny's mentioned. Johnny Anonymous has mentioned something that we were vaguely discussing before the cast. That the idea, well, can it just be a single province game anymore?
Oh yeah, absolutely can.
So yeah, are we going to be looking at Daggerfall 2? Are we going to be looking at the Iliac Bay?
You see,
don't you dare blame me for that.
here's the thing. We were talking earlier about how cool this would be if this was a Daggerfall remake, and they just took the story from Daggerfall and remade it that way. I think that would be really amazing, considering that the majority of people haven't played Daggerfall and how the warp in the West is like really significant.
Well, what would be interesting is if a lot of the story elements were different, specifically because of the warp in the West, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they do. They do. What they do is they canonize something.
Wow.
Or just come up with something completely different.
Come up with be a completely different hero. That'd be cool too.
Yeah, because if we can have 12 different endings, well, there's probably at least 12 different ways to get to that point where Pink Floyd, whatever.
Yeah, the light into the triangle and then the thing. Yeah. Dark Side of the Moon. Right.
That being said, I think this is going to be. Oh, sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead then. Sorry.
No, I have nothing to say.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I was just going to say, I think this is going to be a post-Skyrim game. Maybe, if we're lucky, it's a pre-Skyrim game, maybe during the continuation war between the Dominion and Hammerfell. And it's going to involve sword singing somehow. Reason?
Oh, yeah, that's. I think that's definitely something we can all agree on, is that sword singing is definitely going to be a game mechanic. I really don't see how it couldn't be.
Yeah, just because of its mechanical similarity implement-wise to the Thuum. And...
Yeah. But are we going to get spear singing?
Sword singing is weapon singing in general. It's like,
Yeah. I don't know if, that's a good question. I don't know if they're going to expand on Ansei lore at all. I mean, I assume they're going to be get more granular on it, but I don't know if they're going to reinvent it.
If it's Hammerfell, they're going to.
And especially the way that they have implemented the memories. Is the memory stones or a thing in ESO?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's where I think that's where we first see them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure that it wasn't so much apocrypha that I was just.
They're present. It's present in the Morrowind expansion.
Okay.
There's a character who's got one. Oh yeah, this is from Hammerfell. Yeah. So it's a whole.
Yeah, although it's
shield biting, Reg. That's where the wasabi comes from. That's why they put wasabi on their shields so they can bite them.
Yes.
Shield biting, not shield.
It's gotta be real wasabi though, not that fake horseradish shit.
Yeah, properly grown from Skyrim. But this the thing that I'm kind of skeptical about, sword singing makes total sense from a game perspective, from a mechanical perspective. I'd be curious as to how they shoehorned it in lore-wise, because it's a lost art.
Well,
in an awful lot of it.
So was mostly the Thuum. I mean, the last person to actually appear lore-wise that had it was Tiber Septim. And then we pass 433 years. Well, actually, it's longer than that. 433 plus 200. So that's like we pass half a millennia. And then we have the Greybeards. We have one dude who trained to be a Greybeard and then didn't. And then we have, Dragon's Return. So the Dragonborn shows up and goes, oh, I can do that. I ate a dragon, so now I can do that.
But even then, it's not the definite break. You've still got the Greybeards continuity. Kind of right through that timeline, whereas for sword singing, there were no real sword singers left, if I remember rightly.
And I don't remember reading a very good explanation of why sword singing died out. Do you?
True. No, I don't. But
I'd love to see. I'd love to see Vivek make an appearance.
Who wouldn't? Like,
I mean, they've got the whole Ansu Gerlet thing.
Yeah, he who makes us women.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And an Ansu Gerlet temple would be cool. I don't want Vivek as a person showing up.
Oh. I want to see a new Bethesda-produced high-definition Vivek mesh,
Honestly, what I'd like to see is Vivek in disguise. So he's single skin and he's sitting there, and his name... No, and his name is... okay. Okay, actually...
The fake nose and, the...
Yeah, you can give
The glasses and the...
got like a cigar, but it's still like he's
someone
naked.
draw this.
You realize you haven't stopped singing since I got here? You must have been vaccinated with a phonograph needle.
I would just like to see like a character named the Netrman or the Netrwoman or whatever, and sitting on a rock with a spear, and you come up and talk to them, and they just talk to you, kind of like Wolf did in Morrowind, and then you turn away, and then they're gone.
Why do you carry a spear? Well, what can I say? We all drank the milk of our fathers. What? That sounds perverse. What?
Yeah. You were saying? Yeah. But no, what? And in terms of the timeline, I'd almost like it to be maybe a bit more of a while after Skyrim. I'm not talking another 200 years leap, but one of the things that would get me excited about social change and whatever in Hammerfell for TS6 is the March of Thirst. You had however many Imperial legions deciding to stay behind in Hammerfell in the wake of the Great War. I mean, what on earth happened to all those? What's that going to do to Redguard society to have all those imported foreigners who were willing to fight and die?
Yeah, but most importantly, the forebears and the crowns reunited under a single entity. Like, that's a big fucking deal. That hasn't happened since Yokota.
Yeah.
So to say, because Redguard culture as we know it, their political structure as we know it, has completely changed. Yeah. They reunited, and then they drove, they had help of legions and probably mercenaries, and then they drove the Aldmeri Dominion by themselves out.
Yeah.
So my prediction is that the game will take place during the continuation war, and you'll show up, and then they'll be like, because it'll be a whole Shazarine thing where the Hunding shows up to make fucking way, and the Aldmeri Dominion happens to be in the fucking way, so he makes them move.
I don't want my character to be a Hundingerine.
Well, you know how it is. It'll be. I
can't say it with a straight face.
It'll be ambiguous. But the ANSI get back together, and they're just like, okay, we gotta kick ass now. You're
seeing it in your head right now, aren't you?
I think Hundingering, like a fledgling resurgence of Fiancé. So, like, hey, there's this lost art. We're just gonna kind of study it and see if we can figure this shit out. And then, like, someone just like, oh, look at this.
Well, and then you have the classic Lost, the Lost Master thing. And the reason why, I'm leaning some more. I think about it. The reason why I'm leaning more towards the continuation war is because if they do it post Skyrim, then people are going to ask, "Where are the dragons at? Why aren't there dragons?" Because that's what people do.
There could be dragons in Hammerfell. There were dragons in There was a dragon in Redguard.
What I mean to say is that dragons have reawakened, and that mechanic existed in the game, and people are going to ask where it is.
There was also a dragon in Daggerfall too, but he was itty bitty.
Oh, okay.
But there were dragonlings.
Scat, I think. Yeah.
Well, it certainly would be very impressive to players if a dragon shows up in Elder Scrolls 6 and is a serious fucking problem.
Oh yeah, like
does not roll over at all, and it's like wipes out entire villages, and is almost impossible to kill, and you're like, shit, I don't remember them being this hard in Elder Scrolls 5. You were born to murder them.
It'd be really fucking amazing if we went to Stros Mackay, we go down where Cyrus killed that dragon, but he wasn't really dead because Tiber Septim told him,
no,
under no circumstances don't kill him. And then he shows up and goes, I'm Tiber Septim's. I'm sworn to him. By the way, hi, I'm here. I've been hiding here because I don't know where else. Because I heard this Dragonborn thing or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he did strike me as somewhat something of a coward. So it was. That would be a thoroughly appropriate thing for Narflingus to do.
It ran off, didn't it? You don't ever. Do you actually kill it though, or
I don't remember.
I think it just ran off.
No.
Yeah,
in the game.
I haven't played all the way through Redguard myself.
I watched cutscenes. I couldn't even bear to play that game. I'm sorry.
It was tough. Yeah, it was very interesting, but it was hard.
Well, I do know that if and when we do get Hammerfell, excuse me, we better get some more slowed because
Yeah.
they gave us a taste in ESO and it's not nearly enough, man.
I actually agree. As much as I do love the slowed stuff that we get in ESO, there's not nearly enough of it. I'd love to see some more. Yeah.
Speaking of slowed in the sea, though, have you guys noticed the resurgence of like boats in games recently in like the last generation?
Yeah.
Like recently, we had Divinity Original Sin 2, and it takes place on an archipelago, and you're sailing around in boats.
I blame was it Windbreaker?
Yeah, Black Flag. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Black Flag.
And being that
Black Flag, Sea of Thieves and all that.
And being that a pirate ship showed up in Oblivion, and it was everyone wanted to sail on that. Like a really huge mod was around sailing to the Abyssian Sea Isles and on a ship and shit and doing piracy. And I just, being how important boats are in Redguard society, how awesome would it be as if that's what the game was?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing, but I am saying that Todd Howard has a tendency to adapt gameplay mechanics from other games. And I think that he's probably played at least a couple of these sailing games. It's kind of hard not to. Yeah, exactly. The Witcher, Assassin's Creed, God of War. And if the trend continues for the next 3 or 4 years, whenever Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, which it might, then yeah, we might see it. A pirate guild, excellent idea. Excellent idea. We could get back into the Restless League. That'd be terrific.
The resurgence of a Restless League.
Yeah,
that would be. Well, that's a.
Yep.
Okay, no, I figured out the plot now. So you're not the Hunding the sword was, and you find the sword.
Oh.
Okay, and that unlocks because
Tamriel's deadliest catch.
What's the difference between a memory stone and a soul gem? Is there really a difference, guys?
There's a difference in what you can get out of it. I don't know. I don't know whether you can use a Common Garden Soul Gem to talk to it.
What's the difference between, a roll of film and a battery? I mean, that's basically.
Well, no, because
that's basically what they are.
In previous games, they were not, though. In previous games, they were more than just something you trapped a soul's essence in and sacrificed to the Ideal Masters. They were more than that. Like, in I think it was Daggerfall and Redguard, obviously, and Battlespire. And Battlespire, they were like a big fucking deal. Like you could actually like talk to people through them, if I remember right.
Yeah, there was a fantastic post on Ted's Law about it.
There's the plot, though. You find Cyrus's sword. And boom, sword singing.
Maybe? I like the idea of, I know that, well, okay, what we really have to do, we have to back this up and try to remember how the game's going to start. You start as a prisoner.
Of course.
So the question is, do you start as a prisoner as in you used to be a pirate?
A pirate picking on Aldmeri ships.
Well, that stuff is always left ambiguous, though.
Yeah, that's true.
They
do like to do that.
We never know why we're in prison. All we know is that, hey, here we are.
Yeah.
And it's kind of up to us to tell that story, right?
Yeah.
If you want to be a pirate, then by all means. I mean, I've been in a pirate every game. I don't know what you've been doing. But
yeah.
Yeah. I did hear one thought that it would be it's kind of pandering to Skyrim quite badly. But the idea of being a specifically Aldmeri Dominion prisoner at the start. And which could then tie into the war, as Cody says. So
personally, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see a game in a similar narrative style to Skyrim, narrative style, not necessarily visuals and everything,
Sure.
but where elves are portrayed as the protagonists, as the de facto heroes, instead of a race of men.
Because nice.
Because we end up with this like you see it anywhere, go into any Facebook group that deals with Elder Scrolls, and you've got people like pseudo role playing. It's like, oh well, you like elves, well you're a dick or something.
Well, here, actually, what I would like to see is I would like to see more gray morality. So I would like to be I'd like to be able to join the Aldmeri Dominion and help them bring about the thing, and have a timeline and have multiple endings like you had in
Daggerfall.
Daggerfall.
Well, I mean, my point is I just want there to be balance, right? Because people empathize with the Nord cause, the Stormcloak cause, because we're all human beings, and so we empathize with the human beings in the game. Well, right? versus the elves, which are this other, culture, an alien sort of presence that's imposing its will upon humanity.
Yeah, but they didn't even take that into the game. They were just kind of there. Is the thing about Skyrim. They were there, and we had one book that described them as being assholes, and that's it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, one book, and then also many games of Altmer behavior.
Okay, yeah.
And also the entirety of the ESO Somerset Isles expansion, and So anyway.
I'm talking about the new Aldmeri Dominion.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This not Aldmeri culture in general, even though PGE won well.
Yeah, baby side. Yeah. Okay,
but
buddy.
Could
because
we've got a comment from.
I know.
Okay.
We've got a comment from Semblio saying, "Could Orachuk be a Shihai?" I was thinking that would there be something about crowns and sword stuff, but
well, see,
the
tower
or whatever tower was created by the Orsimer, wasn't it? Am I wrong about that?
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, you what?
Orchok Tower was created by the Orsimer, wasn't it? Or am I wrong about that?
Orchok? No, that's a Yokuda.
No,
it was Yokuda. Okay.
That's Yokuda.
Yeah. So the tower that was most likely would take place is Balfiria, which is a big fucking lore-wise. If the Aldmeri Dominion got their hands on Balfiria, on the Adamantine Tower, imagine a fight above that, on that the last battle being basically a remake of Convention, and you can maybe flip that on its head.
Oh boy!
And that's how the game ends. That would be fucking amazing.
Well, that's actually a good question. What are the odds? Do you think that this is the last Elder Scrolls game?
No fucking way.
No, don't think so.
So I mean, I feel like there's something to be said for IPs that know when their time is done. Like take Breaking Bad for example.
Mm-hmm.
Great show. It didn't go the way of Lost, where it just kind of rambled on because it was trying to make money, right? Yeah. Breaking Bad told a story, it told it, and then it ended. Whereas Lost kept going, and it just kind of meandered, and it, the name of the show was an apt description of
exactly.
And then we have video games where we have, Halo, Call of Duty.
Oh, Call of Duty.
Mario's been around forever. Legend of Zelda's been around since '87. We have Pokemon, which have been around for 20 years. We got.
Although you do in theory have a soft reset mechanism for if the Elder Scrolls ever gets in too much of a narrative tangle, you just hit the Kalpa button,
or you just hit the back in time button. Like you can,
do prequels. Anything. Yeah.
Like you could pull. What was that? What was the mobile game called? The Elder Scrolls. You could go back to Elder Scrolls Adventures and just have a small little town. Like just imagine.
I don't think small Elder Scrolls games are what they're going to do anymore. I doubt it. Well, if they do, then it's going to be because they give the IP to somebody else.
If it's going to be a small game, it's going to be like a companion game, like Fallout Shelter and this new, what is it, Blades? Is that what it
Blades.
is? Blades, yeah.
Well, still, you could do an entire game on the Isle Rumar, the Imperial City. You could reimagine that, blow it up from PGE1, and do an entire game in that. You could pick a city and make an entire cityscape and have the game take place in that. I mean, there's so much they could do with the Elder Scrolls, especially since, how many D&D-esque derived games are there really left anymore? Like the last good one that came out was Kingdoms of Amalur, I think.
Well, I mean, I guess no. Wait, what did Path of Exile? No, PoE. What's Pillars of Eternity?
No, games that play like, third-person action combat. Like you had Fable, you had Kings of Amalur, you have the Elder Scrolls.
I thought you were talking about like Baldur's Gate type stuff.
Yeah. Like so.
Because that's assemble your party, and I mean that's literally.
You must gather your party before venturing forth.
Yeah.
No, but those aren't party ones. Those are individual heroes.
Oh, but Baldur's Gate is a party.
No, Baldur's Gate is, but you don't have. You don't have the individual, almost like first person, sword and sorcery, dungeon delving games anymore. You pretty much have, I guess, Legend of Zelda and Elder Scrolls, right?
Yeah, those are the big.
And Legend of Zelda is technically way more railroaded than what Elder Scrolls is. Like, it's a market niche that no one else is doing.
Yeah, Witcher, Dragon's Dogma.
Okay, yeah, Dragon's Dogma is one. Yeah, Witcher not so much. Witcher is way more of a. Witcher is more akin to a what Telltale makes. The story-driven, like point-and-click games. It's more akin to that than
Witcher.
Yeah, definitely. So what the story is the main aspect of Witcher. The gameplay is just there around it. At least that's how I interpret it. Not saying that Witcher's a bad game, which it isn't. But
I don't know. This might be a difference of opinion, but
dungeon delving is not its primary purpose.
Possibly not. No, it's definitely a questing-oriented game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but branching narrative. I see. Yes, that is true. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that. Well, I'll put it to you this way. I'm very interested to see how far into the future Elder Scrolls 6 happens, and I would very much like to see what the whether or not the Aldmeri Dominion, or how involved the Aldmeri Dominion are going to be in Hammerfell. Because the last we heard, they were kicked out of Hammerfell. But if the game takes place another 100 years into the future, then that might not necessarily be the case.
Yeah, there's no reason they couldn't come back after 100 years of politicking. So.
Yeah, particularly seeing as there's so much thought of, oh well, let's have the Dominion as the actual big bad this time.
That's true. See,
I would like them to return to, because like in Morrowind, you could join 3 factions, right? You had the Telvanni, the Redoran, and the Halalu.
I mean, you could join a lot more than that, but those were the
But those 3 were mutually exclusive, right? And they even opposed each other at times.
Yeah. I mean, and some of the other guilds did too. If you did the Thieves Guild stuff, then you would be at odds with the Fighters Guild.
Oh yeah, if you did the Morag Tong, you'd go and kill Telvannis.
Yeah.
I mean,
and well, there's the obvious one. There is crowns and forebears. If I'd imagine that even if they're functioning as a unified political body at this point, there'll still be differences, extreme differences of opinion and that sort of thing.
And especially if they do like a continuation war thing, they could do a whole "you're a Hortator" type thing. You're bringing them together.
I wouldn't be at all surprised to find that there's a third political body present with the Crown's End forebears, because
There's
we've kind of underscored the enantiomorphic properties of the two, and maybe adding a third. I mean, who knows what, given how much time there may be between these games, another ideology could pop up in the politics of Hammerfell, and they could serve as the observers. They could just take like a passive sort of role, or something. I don't know. I mean, who knows what we're going to do.
The Anzi, or the Bretons have traditionally played the third role. Kind of.
No,
really.
There is a third party. I can't remember what they're called, but they are there. But I'd kind of be hesitant to say from me personally, just hearing what the community's been talking about, well, why didn't we hear about this for Skyrim, or this, or this, or this? Because you've got the 200 years of history. But between Oblivion and Skyrim, we get little nuggets that we hear barely anything about. And
we can hardly remember things that happened 50 years ago, let alone.
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly. And there's kind of like what's the deal with the Void Knights is the kind of the big one that I'm curious about, because there's 2 notes for it in about it's kind of noted in maybe 1 or 2 books, and that's it.
And it's super significant.
Yeah. So it would be lovely to to get more detail on that, and there's less excuse. There's less opportunity for being given cool little nuggets without having to fill them out if you've got that shorter time distance.
Well, so here's another thing Skyrim was a soft reset of the franchise itself. And again, every single game kind of is, but Skyrim really was. It broke it off from the Septim Dynasty. Literally, Uriel Septim had been the emperor every single game up until then.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But it was a major soft reset. Like everything, like all the lore that had happened previously almost was insignificant in the way Skyrim played out.
I guess. The Oblivion Crisis destabilized Cyrodiil dominantly.
Yeah. The Oblivion Crisis was the New Dawn.
A little bit. And then that allowed the Aldmeri Dominion to position themselves politically and militarily. The collision, the forming of Scalding Bay and the collision of Bandar through the Dunmer up into the air, which destabilized the eastern coast of Tamriel. So, there wasn't really a whole lot of stuff left at that point. And that's why the Aldmeri Dominion took over. It's not necessarily, oh, hello, another James, thank you. It wasn't necessarily, a full reset, but it was definitely, it wasn't like an apocalyptic event, but it was. But you're right. It was. I think the term you're using is better than anything I'm trying to struggle with, which is a soft reset. I think that's the right term.
Yeah. And it's the turning point of the Kalpa. If we want to use the parabolic Kalpa model,
that's right.
In terms of how the man and mer interact, then we can see the Oblivion Crisis as the flip. It stops going one way and goes the other.
Yeah, and so theoretically at this point we'd be looking at the resurgence of Thu'um, probably the resurgence of sword singing, which means that the parabola is going back up again towards the next reset, the next Kalpa.
Yeah, and
that makes a lot of sense.
And so more and more magic, more and more weirdness, and
which works out really well for the series in general, because that gives Todd Howard an excuse to keep dialing up the crazy as far as special effects goes, which is now possible because hardware is getting more and more advanced, and he can pull off effects and stuff that in games that he couldn't do before. So the games can get crazier and crazier until eventually we're playing goddamn Superman and fist punching Akulakan in the face again, and sure, why not?
I mean, with the lore that you have, just the fucking crazy that you have in the Elder Scrolls lore, you could go anywhere. You could do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, fuck, you could make a whole game just in a plane of oblivion. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's far as this
And they
being the
have
last
actually.
Elder.
Now that you think about it.
Well, yeah, they've technically had 2, but Battlespire and Shivering Isles.
Oh, an expansion. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, but that could have been a whole game in itself.
It really could have. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so, I mean, I in no way I refute the fact that this is going to be the last Elder Scrolls game. However, do I think there's going to be 10-year gaps between each Elder Scrolls like major installment? Absolutely.
Possibly.
Because Bethesda has grown from the little studio it was when it made Morrowind and Oblivion to what it is now. It got its hands on Doom. Holy shit, Doom's a really big, like, important franchise in the scheme of gaming. It got its hands on Fallout, which, holy shit, Fallout's a big fucking franchise in the scheme of gaming. You know, they also are rebooting their other Fallout. I forget what it's called. Rage, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. They're rebooting Rage. They're trying new stuff with Starfield, which I think is going to be one of those Daggerfall-like games that are random generation games. Unless I'm completely wrong, which,
procedural generation's kind of
procedural generation, yeah. Now, so. Yeah, exactly. And procedural generation is where Bethesda has its roots.
True.
Arena and Daggerfall were designed to be the game is your dungeon master and you are the player, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting, Deccan. Apparently Todd has said that they're going to work faster and on almost everything at once. So we could be looking at a point where Bethesda Game Studios now has an Elder Scrolls division.
Yeah, it's possible. But
that would be.
You gotta realize the people who made Skyrim have been around since, at least a lot of them have been around since Daggerfall.
Yeah, true.
The lore guys, the main lore guys have been around since at least Redguard and Battlespire. Battlespire, correct? Like, if I'm not getting my history mixed up, right?
Yeah.
So, sorry, I'm getting my.
Is Coleman still with Bethesda, or did he move on something?
I'm like 90% sure he's still working there. Yeah, I don't know if he's ever been a full employee. Because it's a game studio, so they employ people on a contract basis, and people that you think are permanent employees are in fact just really long-term contractors. So I don't know if Kuhlman's ever been an official Bethesda employee or if he's been a contractor. I would suspect by this point he's probably an employee.
Yeah, and plus, they even people who are not working for them wrote stuff for Skyrim.
Yeah.
I mean, people who weren't working for them wrote stuff for Oblivion.
Get Lawrence Schick on Elder Scrolls 6. That'd be nice.
Oh my God, please yes.
That would be fucking great. Yeah.
Oh my God, please yes.
I'd like to see some collaboration between Kirk.
I'd like to get all the old guys, pull them in, get all the new guys, pull them in, get them liquored up, and just go.
You don't want to get. Kirkbride's not going to get liquored up. That's why you get Tibidetha, and we don't need that.
I mean, I don't care. The point is, just go. You get fucking awesome shit.
Yeah, just lock them all in a room and see what happens.
The last time Kirkbride got locked in a room, he wrote the 36 lessons. So.
36 lessons. That was where I was going.
Yeah,
I'm the guy in the corner, but with the green screen. Hayek.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think we're gonna have a. I don't think there's gonna be. I doubt seriously that Elder Scrolls 6 is also going to depart seriously from the gameplay of like first person.
Yeah,
largely melee
that's
oriented.
What people get the games for.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
Yeah. If anything, because they really tightened up the gameplay. They simplified it, but also made it more responsive from Oblivion. Because if you remember, Oblivion was like waving around a fork, and now everything has weight. So I really think they might lift mechanics out of Dark Souls's.
Well, that could only be good. Yeah.
Mechanic? Yeah, exactly. Because you know how the stamina system works in that.
Mm-hmm.
I really think...
my ultimate dream is for Todd Howard to spend 2 weeks binge playing Dark Souls games. If that means that the next Elder Scrolls game has to be a third-person only game, I'm willing to do that.
No, just make Dark Souls in first person and third person.
Yeah, but Dark Souls, the Soulsborne combat system works way better in third person because positioning is so incredibly important. It's much harder to to get your iframes timed right if you can't watch your character roll underneath an overhead swing.
Well, what I'm saying is I take not so much the dodging
second person, no, Reg.
The mechanical numbers and the weight of how weapons work, how each weapon type has a moveset,
True. Yes. Oh, I agree completely. Yes. That's
things
a great
like
idea.
that.
Yeah.
As far as stamina being a consumable resource, magicka being a consumable resource because it's regenerating all the time, but you spend it in the way the Soulsborne work, that way. I think it won't be nearly as agile as... It's going to be more like Dark Souls 1 where you cower behind a shield and poke people than the Bloodborne where you're dodging around and being awesome and rewarding you for aggression.
Dark Souls 2, if I recall correctly, wasn't Dark Souls 2 the one where you wanted to shield and sword and board it? Dark Souls 1 was the game where you wanted to backstab everything.
Literally, Dark Souls 1 entire combat system was shield until you can riposte and revenge, or you circle backstab them. Okay, that was the whole gameplay.
Yeah,
and dark bead people to death. That too.
Right. And spin to win.
There's also part of me that's thinking they're not going to go away from at least the possibility of having it first person because they've already done Skyrim in VR.
That's true.
So
that's geez,
really not going to fix VR port.
And plus, they've become really professional at the whole first-person gaming. You got Fallout, first-person shooter.
Yeah.
Doom, first-person shooter. The majority, basically, all the Elder Scrolls except for Elder Scrolls 5 have been first-person only. Really, you can play it. You could.
In Oblivion and Morrowind, you could change to third person as well.
Exactly. To look at yourself, and that's all. It was really useful.
Pretty much, yeah.
To watch yourself run, and then when you got into combat, you went back into first person because if you didn't, you're hitting air.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm on ESO right now, and I'm always in third person because otherwise I can't see all my surroundings. So
but that's also an MMO. It's kind of a different game.
Yeah, it is. Reg points out the possibility that Elder Scrolls 6 will be VR only. I don't think that's likely.
No.
But I do think that VR out of the box is possible. I think we might see VR out of the box. Like on
VR
launch.
out of the box, yes. VR only, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Because the entry level for VR is still too damn high.
Yeah, it's like over $500 right now, right?
Yeah.
My system ran about 800. I've got an HTC.
And you have to have room to use it. So
which is also important,
unless there is a way to get VR to work where you just sit in a chair and it's super fucking responsive, I don't see it happening.
No. Particularly not the ones that are getting all the attention at the moment. They're all about area. They're all about area stuff, like the Vive setting up your cones to coordinate where on earth you are. You need a room for that sort of thing.
My living room is that room for me.
Yeah, and I don't got a room for that at all.
I have to turn my TV around or else I punch it. So.
Well, there's you can watch gameplay videos of people playing Resident Evil 7, I think, the VR version, and that's kind of like the, if I understand correctly, that's currently considered by VR people to be like the way VR games that you don't stand up to play are kind of considered like that's kind of what people consider to be the thing. I believe, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Skyrim VR is one that you can stand for, but you don't have to. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but still VR plus all the motion sickness that goes with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it cuts down the market too much.
Yeah, you cut down the market too much.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, Rhodium's right. The amount of money they're going to sink into Elder Scrolls 6's production is going to be way too high for them to limit their market to VR only. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. The investment is going to be too high for VR only.
Yeah. I think it was either last year or the year before, but I literally crunched the numbers for this at work.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's gone.
Dara, you barely the one AAA game.
Okay, you're gonna have to say that again because your internet crapped out.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It's that if you crunch the numbers for how many purchases and so on you've got for just the VR only games on Steam and how many of them have been sold, which you could get at that point before Steam stopped giving out the right numbers. But before that point, you could barely get to the point where the cost of one AAA game development would be recouped. It was such a small space.
Interesting. Okay. Which explains why the new Resident Evil game was capable of being played without VR. Yeah.
You have to design for non-VR because otherwise you don't get the player base.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I see that.
Well, I think. So do we think that the idea of so I think we all agree that the idea of you being the Hunding in Elder Scrolls 6 is pretty high, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my thought.
Or at least it'll be alluded to it to where it'll be kind of a Cyrus thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Where are you the Hunding or is someone else the Hunding?
Right.
You're not the Hunding, but you could become the Hunding.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's gonna be a shazering thing, but all I know is that bitches are gonna get moved out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's so if that's the case, then what do we think the impact on the Aldmeri Dominion is going to be? What's the impact on the whole war going to be?
Well, I would really just like to see a 3 or 4 faction, like these 3 or 4 factions are vying over their mission in Hammerfell, right?
Yeah.
So ideally you'd have Forebears, the Crowns, the Imperials, the Aldmeri Dominion, right? So the Imperial Remnant, and they're all trying to get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And then you join one of their factions, and then the game plays around that.
Yeah, Johnny, you've got an interesting question. Will we get the Thieves Guild, Mage Guild, Fighters Guilds, or regional specific guilds instead? I think we were talking earlier about the likelihood of there being a sailing guild if they introduce a sailing mechanic in Elder Scrolls 6, which I think we all agree is more probable than it's ever been, considering the popularity of sailing piracy games.
Yeah.
If that ends up happening, I think the Thieves Guild will likely get replaced by a Piracy Guild. And the reason why I say that is because if you try to do both, there's going to be a lot of thematic overlap between the two of them, to the point where, as a producer, if I was producing a video game with this kind of budget, I would look at both plot lines and go, these seem redundant, and that's not an efficient way of spending money. You do one or the other, but to do both would seem like we were, repeating ourselves, and that's just not an effective way to blow asset. So, they probably, sailing, but no ladder mechanics? Absolutely not, Baka. No ladder mechanics ever. That's completely against the Elder Scrolls system. Climbing went out in Daggerfall.
Yeah. There's also if just thinking about the way everything went back to the soft reset, all of the big institutions that would produce the side quests are kind of falling to bits.
Yeah.
You've got no Mages Guild anymore. I very much doubt there's a Fighters Guild presence there, because the whole reason for the Fighters Guild was because there was these people with armies of their own, and the Red Guards will have that now. They're not.
Right. Well, you've got the part of the whole Hammerfell Red Guard culture is that everybody is in some way martially trained. So
exactly.
Yeah. Book of the Five Rings. Yeah.
Right.
So so far as the factions go, there will be a profiteering stealth faction, an assassinating stealth faction, a warrior hero tradition faction. There will be a reclusive magic faction because you know how the Red Guards feel about magic, and then there will be a fifth cultural faction, right?
Yeah.
That is a part of the story that you kind of join, but you kind of don't, right? And then hopefully there will be 4 mutually exclusive factions, like I was saying earlier.
Right. Yeah. One of the mechanics for that, now I think about it, I'm just trying to look up the name for them. It was in the Emperor's Guide. Was the faction that went around clearing out the undead, that was basically untouchables. Which
the Arcans?
Yes. I'd imagine that I can kind of feel them being the Fighters Guild equivalent. But that would cut off, and if they want to implement that properly, you'd have to have an awful lot of. Now you can't join these people because they won't want anything to do with you.
Well, we didn't do that with the companions. So.
Oh yeah, but the companions weren't socially taboo. It wasn't. What
are you talking about? They were werewolves. I mean,
they were werewolves, but people didn't know that. Whereas
it was the worst kept
of
secret in Skyrim. Yeah, it's a secret to everyone.
Yeah, but okay. So RK is like the only Imperial god that is significant in Hammerfell, at least in the old lore. Stendar's kind of made a move in lately in ESO, but a temple faction of the Arcans going around, putting undead down and people who traffic with undead. You know, that's a classic. You could have a classic RK versus Worm Cult thing going on there. That would be, you know,
that could be your replacement for the Fighters Guild, really.
Shit. If they didn't want you to be able to join every single one on every single character, those could be the 2 magic and fighter.
True. Yeah.
Factions.
Necromancers versus fighters.
That'd be cool. Hey, Bethesda, I'm over here.
Hayek, you don't. By the way, Hayek, you don't have to donate to get. I appreciate the biddies, but you don't have to donate to get your questions in. Just go ahead and ask them. Are there any hopes or expectations or ideas for what might come with the Dark Brotherhood in Elder Scrolls 6? What do we know about the state of the Dark Brotherhood right now after Elder Scrolls 5?
I mean, we know that for a while there, the Dark Brotherhood had kind of lost its way.
Right.
And that was sort of fixed by LDB in Skyrim.
Sort of, yeah.
The Night Mother speaking.
The Night Mother speaking. You've got a new listener.
Right.
You've got all these things going on that are kind of a callback to, how it used to be in the heyday of the Dark Brotherhood.
Well, see, what I infer is that prior to Skyrim, the past 30 or 40 years, there hasn't really been any Night Mother spoken Dark Brotherhoods because of the Great War and how the Aldmeri Dominion went around just fucking everything up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for the last 30, 40 years, literally a whole generation, the Dark Brotherhood has been in name only, right?
Right.
So a resurgent Dark Brotherhood could be a real thing in Hammerfall, being that there's a war going on and we need people to kill people we don't like.
Yeah.
So they could easily reemerge. How their story goes in Hammerfell, beyond, hey, we're reestablishing some fingers of the Night Mother here. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Being that there's a big ass diaspora of Dark Elves in Tamriel now, that they just scattered to the wind.
Very true.
You could even have a Morag Tong type thing.
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
And then the Dark Brotherhood and this guild kind of just go, hey, you want in? And it happens.
Yeah.
The
Could be. And that's one of the things that we have to think about, like with in Morrowind, the Dark Brotherhood and the Morag Tong were sort of competing forces, when you moved to Skyrim, there wasn't really an assassination system in play in Skyrim because politically there didn't need to be one. In Hammerfell, I think the same thing applies. But if we're right in speculating that the Elder Scrolls 6 might have a little bit of a high rock element to it, like more than we think, then it's entirely possible that we might end up having to deal with high rock politics, and I can't think of a better place for a Morag Tong style system to exist than high rock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, so if we reintroduce, say it's not just completely Hammerfall, which I think it will be, but it's actually Daggerfall under the name Hammerfall. I mean, the political situation could be huge there. Yeah. If you introduce the Aldmeri Dominion and you have orcs who got shit on after the collapse of the Septim Empire, you could have orcs going, fuck Malakath, we're Trinimac now. We're painting ourselves yellow and we're going down. We're just axing the shit out of humans. Like, you could just have this super militant, what orcs are destined to be. Literally big, scary, what Ganon is supposed to be, right?
Well, and I mean, we've seen the struggle between Malakath and Trinimac among Orsimer culture. It's been presented in ESO, so we know like there's a precedent for that.
Yeah, but this would be a whole new. So the orcs get tired of getting shit on. Aldmeri guy goes over and radicalizes some people. You got to remember. So I was reading somewhere. What was the guy in Daggerfall that was part of the clan Minat who established Orsinium? He actually established a cult of Trinimac during that.
Was that actually Gottwog?
Yeah, apparently Gottwog established that.
Okay.
And that was because he was trying to get away from Daedra and into Aedra, so he would be accepted by the Empire, right? They become recognized by the Empire. So just saying.
Yeah, possibly. I have to say that Orsimer in general tend to culturally embrace the pariah behavior. Yeah. So I'm not saying that that's a bad idea. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I just don't think it's likely. But it's cool.
Here's the thing: you get a situation where one guy or one faction of orcs is really, really adamant about, we're really pissed at the Bretons and the Red Guards for blowing our city up after we finally got
got that rug that really pulled the room together.
Yeah, we finally pulled our room together and we got shit on again for like the fourth time by a coalition. They attacked unannounced, unaggressed, just because they were a clay dispute, right? So you have this orc faction go up to, say you find like the strongholds like you find in Skyrim. They go, no, we're traditional. And they go, no, you're not. Or what? Or we're going to kill you.
Yeah.
Type thing. You get this real radical, hardline Trinimac cult that is a finger of the Aldmeri Dominion. And they could just go around doing traditional D&D orc shit, but the religious fanatics. It could be really cool. Just saying.
Yeah, I actually wrote it was one of my few times that I've tried to write in universe fiction, but it was actually a pamphlet from the Aldmeri Dominion specifically designed to do that, saying, "Hey, look, this is Trinimac. This is our warrior god. Come join us and assume your rightful place at the side of Auriel," sort of thing.
I mean, they took the
I could totally see that playing out.
They took the Catmen. Why not take the Pigmen?
Well, I mean, they took the Catmen by snuffing out the moons for a year. You know, I mean.
Well, and honestly, the Pigmen are so decentralized culturally that wouldn't really be that hard.
Yeah.
Especially since Orsinium got shit on for like the fourth or fifth time now.
It's true. IX still dropping biddies on my face, but he's asking, do I think there's any hope for a Valenwood setting? We actually talked about this maybe before you showed up, Hayek. The likelihood of a Valenwood or elsewhere or anywhere else that's dominantly Marish setting is unlikely because of an explanation by Todd Howard, and I think Kurt Kuhlman seconded this, which is that it's extremely hard to fund a game based in a dominantly Marish province because it just doesn't like it. I don't know how to put this. It doesn't scope well. It doesn't read well by audiences. Basically, because the culture is Elvish and not Mannish, because you're selling a game to humans, men, not in the sexualized term, but in the whatever speciest term. The basing the game, for example, if you were building an Elder Scrolls game today with the same budget that you always had, with the same budget that you always had, Morrowind would never have been made. Like Morrowind being made on a game like on a budget like Skyrim would not happen, because the moment you went to the producers and asked for funding for a game that takes place on a volcano with mushrooms and grumbly dark-skinned elves with red eyes, they'd say no. No, you're gonna have to. No, nobody wants to play that game. And Morrowind, even with if you released Skywind tomorrow, with all the advertisements and pomp and circumstance that Skyrim received or another AAA title would receive, and I'm assuming, by the way, that Skywind would be the equivalent of a AAA title, which it fucking ain't gonna be. But if it was, then then it still wouldn't sell as well as Skyrim, because it doesn't take place in a dominantly Mannish culture, because it's just too friggin' weird, you know.
So that being said, however,
I agree, it is disheartening, but there you go.
Yeah, it's disheartening. However, between whether or not it's going to be elsewhere or Valenwood, it would 99.9% be Valenwood.
Yeah.
If there was going to be a setting.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Yeah. As much as I would love to see elsewhere,
yeah,
Valenwood. I mean, there's been a lot that like ESO expanded on with the Bosmer, but having like a core game centered around the Bosmer would be
amazing,
pretty dope in my opinion.
Yeah. But here's the thing: you're not going to. Hey guys, we're making an RPG, and 50% of the population are cat people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's true, there are no humans in Zelda, but Zelda does not sell to the same gamers that bought Skyrim.
Yeah. I mean,
Skyrim sold to gamers that buy Madden and nothing else. That's
yeah.
what's so crazy about Skyrim. Skyrim sold to people who play sports games.
Yeah, the Hylians are humans. They're just of the old blood.
Well, they look like elves. They have pointy ears. The ears point up, is the point.
Yeah, the ears point up.
That's the only difference, though.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they look exactly like, you know.
Yeah,
pretty much.
They can pass for human. But does that mean that we're never going to see a main Elder Scrolls title in elsewhere, Valenwood, Blackmarsh, whatever?
I can't say no, because if Todd Howard decides to go, you know what, fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's go to Argonia, make this shit. Make an Argonia game, and
all lizards
get on board and go, hey, that sounds like fun. It's going to happen.
Well, it is true, but here's the difference. Todd Howard basing a game. Here's my point. It's entirely possible that Todd Howard could base it in Valenwood or elsewhere, but Todd Howard won't be able to get the budget that he wants for a game that takes place in those provinces.
Yeah.
He won't be able to employ the same number of people. There's all kinds of factors that are that come into play here. Who's this just popped in? Hey, it's LJ.
I believe this is Icefire Warden.
Yes, it is.
What's up?
Who's working on it? Hey, there he is.
Hello.
Hello. We're just talking about the likelihood that you're not going to see an Elder Scrolls game in anywhere that isn't a Mannish region.
Oh yeah, totally. That's not going to happen until like 2099.
And there you go.
After becomes God Emperor, like is that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, as much as I would like to see a quote unquote Morrowind 2, because who wouldn't?
Yeah, right.
For
Because
the-
we're
for the
fucking
same
nerds.
You know,
yeah.
who wouldn't? Who doesn't want to go to that alien land shit?
Mhm.
But you take Morrowind and you compare it to Oblivion and see which one sold better.
Yeah. Morrowind didn't sell worth a damn compared to Oblivion. Oblivion sold like crazy.
But it's
And-
objectively the best one.
Well, Oblivion was also quote unquote generic European fantasy.
Yeah. Arriving at the height of Lord of the Rings fever.
Yeah,
Hey,
arriving at the height of Lord of the Rings fever.
Your
Indeed.
character's called Chicken Chaser, and there's a morality system, and that's.
But that's and like definitely nobody on this channel is going to say that nobody wants a game in these other provinces. That's absolutely
I would prefer
false.
a game.
We'd love them, but
I would prefer.
it's not a question of would players play it. It's a question of would it get funded. That's the key here. Is that it's really it's not necessarily about how much would it sell. It's not about how many people would play it. It's not how it would be received. What it's about is would the board of directors at Bethesda the Bethesda publishing company approve the funding, and they would.
Well, it's really just risk assessment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's risk assessment.
I mean, if they take risks, then they the game might flop. You know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, no board of directors is going to be into that.
Yeah,
let's do what's safe, and that's kind of that's a negative aspect of any entertainment industry.
True.
Is you do what's safe, and then you get stagnation, and people get tired of that. And
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the advantages that the
you
Elder Scrolls series has is mods and the incredibly liberal approach that fans have to canon. One of the things to keep in mind about Hammerfell is even if you agree with Johnny Anonymous that the human cultures in Elder Scrolls or most fantasy games are comparatively boring compared to most Elvish or Marish cultures, then you might be excited to know that with every new Elder Scrolls game that comes out, Kirkbride gets contracted to write stuff for it. So at some point or another, there's going to be, at some point or another, we're going to get stuff from Kirkbride written about Hammerfell that's going to make it very strange.
Yeah,
and
they've added all this new to us, awesome talent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have Lawrence Schick.
For God's sake.
Okay, yeah, Lawrence Schick. You have. All these new people, you get them in a room together and go, hey guys, let's make something cool. They're going to make something cool.
And the next thing you know, Lawrence Schick has somehow or another managed to introduce strange Batmare into Elder Scrolls 6. And oh, look, IFW's canon again.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you bet that there's going to be a reference to that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
Somewhere in there.
Without question. Yeah.
I know these people are reading stuff. Because they say they do, because they're just like, I feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
How much you want to bet there's going to be a reference?
I mean, it's already in ESO, so.
Yeah, it's already in ESO.
Okay, already done.
Yeah, it's if you're worried about whether or not Akhmer are canon or not, it's too late. You've already lost the argument. So.
That shit failed a long time ago.
Yeah. And that's and that's what I'm really excited about to see from Elder Scrolls 6 in general. Is I'm very interested to see what's happening to the Aldmeri Dominion and the Thalmor, and that's all great and stuff. But I'm mostly interested in seeing what new things modders get to do with the engine, and and what kind of tweaks we can make. But every Elder Scrolls game for me, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to agree on this. It's mostly, I mean, when it first launches, it's a lot about what Bethesda does for it. But after about a week of playing the game, I don't give a shit what's in the game anymore. All I'm excited about is mods. That's it. That's all I want to hear about is what's Trainwiz going to do.
We should get him in here one of these days.
We've had him here before.
We have had.
Yeah.
I come from a background where I played on consoles only, so I didn't know there were such thing as mods. And I have thousands of hours in Oblivion.
Wow.
Okay. That was my first game. But that's the one thing you're going to see in this next game is that mods are going to be monetized hugely.
I suspect so. I think they're going to go from that's a really good point. I suspect from launch, we're probably going to see a hard push by Bethesda to monetize large mods. Like quality mods.
To the point that I think they might go, hey guys, make a mod, we'll give you money.
Yeah.
Type stuff.
Although the one thing I hope they don't do is that they start monetizing the inevitable unofficial Elder Scrolls 6 patch and equivalents.
Oh,
and monetizing the bug fixes.
Yeah,
because I physically do not want to buy games from Bethesda at launch because
I think
they're terribly buggy.
Didn't Bethesda say outright that they were never going to do that? Monetize bug fixes?
They won't do that.
Yeah.
So
I think that's very unlikely.
I would hope not.
Rhodium, I believe they've confirmed that Starfield is not going to be in a new engine. That it's going to be another modification. No, wait. I'm sorry. Wait, I'm backing that up. Fallout 76 is in a modified version of the current engine. They have not said, to my knowledge, and I could be wrong, that Starfield or Elder Scrolls 6 are going to be in the same engine or not. I don't know if they've said that. They have said that they're both going to be for the next generation of consoles, so it's certainly possible that it might be in a new engine. But
I think he said next gen technology.
That's right.
So whether it's the same technology or different, I mean, we don't really know.
Yeah.
But again, this is all speculation, and Bethesda are going to make the games they want to make to the best of their ability. I believe. I just hope that they take as long as they need to get the game story-wise and material-wise, into what they want it to be, and they don't end up doing what they did with Skyrim and cut out like the whole Mages Guild quest, literally, and a lot of what they were doing with it because they got rushed at the end because they announced it too early.
Johnny Anonymous. Good question. Chances of the Maormer showing up in Elder Scrolls 6. I'd say it's the highest percentage likelihood that we've ever had.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do I think if there's sailing involved, will they show up? Absolutely. If there's not sailing involved, will they show up? Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
also.
Sorry, say what, IFW?
I mean, like, ESO's a big step up for that because we actually got to see him for the first time in the series period. And I mean, like, we got in a lot of detail of what they actually think. So them actually being in Elder Scrolls 6 is a big possibility.
Yeah. They're more realized than they've ever been. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're really good in ESO. They've got a very distinctive culture. Yeah, that could be really good. Will they be a playable race would be my question.
No.
I would assume not.
Yeah, that's unlikely.
We're gonna stay to the 10 bloods that we've had since Morrowind.
Yeah, I think so too.
Unless we have a game that takes place that somehow that's relevant.
Yeah.
Right. So if it takes place like in Somerset for some reason, maybe.
Yeah.
But probably not because the 10 bloods are set pretty well.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty hard foundation.
And 10 different races is already hard enough to implement into games.
True. Yeah.
So that's probably all there's ever going to be for now, for this game at least.
Will there be any Hammerfell add-ons in ESO between now and when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out? I don't know. IFW, do you know anything?
About what?
Any Hammerfell add-ons in ESO between now and when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out?
There might be like a dungeon DLC, but in terms of like major story ones, I have no idea. Probably not, though. I'm safe betting for that.
Yeah.
Well, the very first DLC was a Hammerfall one, wasn't it?
You talking about Thieves' Guild, aren't you? Hughes Bane.
No, Hughes Bane, yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because I think Craglorn was in game, and that was the first like veteran area.
Yeah, Craglorn.
But that wasn't a DLC at all. That came.
That's the first adventure thing before Adventure Center with the shit.
Yeah, it was just
you guys know what I mean.
Yeah.
The next
Yeah, because there's Hughesbane, there's
MMO
Gold Coast,
content add-on.
there's Hrothgar.
The first content add-on for ESO was Cragorn or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is that I'm pretty sure that came vanilla though. That came from launch. I mean, they might have like delayed it.
No, it was added after launch. It was I think if I recall correctly, it was raids for ESO. They were adding raids into the game.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
That rings a bell.
3, 4.
Which side won the Civil War?
Aldmeri Dominion, guys.
Doesn't matter.
The Aldmeri, the Thalmor won. That's the that's the response.
That's a good answer.
Whichever, it doesn't matter if the Empire did or if the Stormcloaks did. The Thalmor won. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
Yeah,
I thought we said.
Yeah,
Great War.
we're both going. Both Tullius and Ulfric are going to be dead in some circumstances or other. Skyrim devolves into chaos. Something. Aldmeri Dominion steps in. ? Profit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In this next game, it's going to be very ambiguous. Yeah. It's going to be some kind of stalemate, or the chaos of the war. It just the war kind of fizzled out like.
Actually,
or it's still going on, or it takes place before the war during the Great War.
Actually, I wouldn't put money on this, but I suspect that it's going to take place after Skyrim, and I suspect that they're going to tell us that the Aldmeri Dominion have taken over Skyrim.
No.
And there's a gut. I've got a feeling in my gut that the condition we're going to find Tamriel in is dominantly under the thumb of the Aldmeri Dominion.
Aldmeri Dominion hegemony, absolutely. Divided in east and west, absolutely. Direct rule in Skyrim, hell no.
No, I don't mean to infer that. No, yeah.
Hell no. Yeah. I was just making sure you weren't saying that.
So are we looking at an Aldmeri West? Having them saying, Solitude is where the Imperial infrastructure is, and we need to enforce Imperial law, which includes the White Gold Concordat, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so have the Aldmeri come out of be based out of Solitude, and the old West-East Skyrim split happen, as you say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the East-West Skyrim split is the de facto state of Skyrim. Historically.
Yeah. It's true. It's always been like that. That is very true. Yeah.
Yep.
This is why I'm hoping for Blades to get more information about the story soon, because I want to find out if it takes place during or after the Great War.
Yeah.
If we do the Blades story.
Yeah, have we heard anything about the plot for Blades yet?
No, I don't think so.
No, nothing. Although the thing that worries me about Blades is quite how you can implement anything like linear plot if you're opening it up to things like settlement building and that sort of thing, which I think they said was going to be part of Blades.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah,
that it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that it's going to be build your town. So how do we fit the current situation of Tamriel into a land grab like that?
That's a good question.
Or how does a land grab like that fit into current Tamriel? Aside from everyone being Dickumus Scotti and running around trying to build some kind of contract in Black Marsh or wherever, I can't really see. I can't really see that happening.
You could do it with your hometown got blown up during the war, and you return there, and you basically, because the blades are gone now, so you figure, hey, I'll just rebuild it.
Apparently, Nekken's saying that's exactly what the plot is. The blade we play went into exile, and their home city was destroyed.
No shit. Okay.
Oh, good job, buddy.
Okay, that's kind of scary.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, okay.
What about the dragons, though?
Say what?
And they're.
What about my dragons, though? Are they gone?
Yeah, that's what we're thinking. They're going to be in. They're probably going to be in the new game. Yeah.
I'm hoping it's like.
I imagine they'll be more sparse.
Hopefully.
I hope there's just one dragon, and it's a reference to Redguard. That's it. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we need.
Yeah, Nephalologus. Yeah, man.
I just hope he's a fucking problem. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping he's a really hard boss.
He shows up and he's a big bad.
Yeah.
Like Dragon's Dogma type dragon.
Right, exactly. Like a real problem. Yeah.
Not like that bitch Alduin.
Well, it's not like every fucking dragon you fight in Elder Scrolls 5. Yeah. Will the spell scar still be there? I don't know. I have no idea. Shadow of Colossus style scene where you climb a proper dragon. Stop giving me boners.
My penis can only get so erect.
No, guys. Think about this: a voice versus sword singing fight.
Oh.
Okay.
Nice.
Are you erect now?
Mm-hmm. Well, okay.
Not until Kakranat comes in and is the ref.
We're already half an hour over our time, and I hate to quit because I feel like IFW just got here. But
here's the problem: if we don't quit now, we'll be here for
another 4 hours. Yeah. So I'm sending out a general call for help if you know anything about Argonians, and you can make this schedule. Like, get in on this. IFW, you're as close as we got.
You're our only hope.
I haven't been Argonians in like years. I mean, I still know all of the shit about them, but
yeah, I know, right?
Oh.
That's well. I mean,
Honestly,
I'll put it to you this way: we need to do our Argonian cast, but we've got other cultures we could be doing too. We just thought we'd spend today talking about Elder Scrolls 6 because it's all we're thinking about. So anyway, thanks for everybody who's showing up. Thanks for all the donations and the follows, and we will see you guys the next time we see you, whenever that's going to be. Not next week, not the week after.
2 weeks from now.
Something like that. I'll try to once again. I'll do what I usually try to do, which is try to announce that we're going to do the stream before 10 minutes before the show. So we'll, but I'm horribly irresponsible, so we know how that goes. And keep an eye out for the VOD on Reddit 5 months from now when I get around to uploading it. And thanks very much, everybody. Have a good one. Say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, that was fun.